Have you ever lost something important? Maybe a wallet or a set of keys or maybe even a wedding ring. When you realize it's gone, your heart sinks and you begin a desperate search to find it. And then you hear someone shouting at you across the parking lot, "Hey mister, you dropped your wallet." When you turn around, he's holding your wallet up and walking your way. He just did a mitzvah from this week's Torah portion. But what if I told you that you have something in your possession right now that another person has lost and you need to let them know about it? Not sure what I mean? Let's take a look in this week's 5-Minute Torah. Welcome back, Torah Tribe. You're watching the channel that connects disciples of Yeshua to the eternal Torah of God. This week's Torah portion is Tetze, Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10 through chapter 25, verse 19. And here are the three things that you need to know about it. Number one, the least commandment. In Matthew 5, Yeshua mentions the least of the commandments. This week's Torah portion contains the law concerning shooing away the mother bird. If you're not familiar with this, the Torah does not allow one to take the mother and her eggs together. It requires that the mother be shooed away and left alone. The sages consider this to be the least of the commandments. Number two, forbidden mixtures. We also read about forbidden mixtures in this week's Torah portion. The Torah forbids such mixtures as sowing two types of seed together, plowing with an ox and a donkey together, and wearing garments that are a mixture of wool and linen, unless you're the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. And number three, miscellaneous laws. The remainder of Tetze contains a list of various laws that are too numerous to list here. However, they range from laws concerning marriage, divorce, and levirate marriage, to forbidden relationships, to purity of the Israelite encampment, to charging interest on loans and the payment of day workers, to remind us of our obligation to take care of the widows and orphans. It's a power-packed portion that covers a lot of territory quickly. Before I get started, I hope you notice something different. Yes, that's right, I'm looking at you. I'm looking right at you and not over here somewhere. Okay, got my teleprompter set up, got my camera set up behind it, and we are rocking and rolling, and it is amazing. And so I hope you guys notice the difference and appreciate it, and hopefully I'll be able to connect with more people this way. As a reminder, if you want to help support this channel, please consider picking up a copy of one of my books on Amazon, adding it to your study resources, or sharing it with a friend. As I said at the beginning of the video, today's Torah commentary is focused on restoring a lost item to a person who lost it. But this might not be what you're thinking. The Torah portion says, "You shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep going astray and ignore them. You shall take them back to your brother. And if he does not live near you, and you do not know who he is, you shall bring it home to your house, and it shall stay with you until your brother seeks it. Then you shall restore it to him. And you shall do the same with his donkey, or with his garment, or with any lost thing of your brother's, which he loses and you find. You may not ignore it." This is Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses 1 through 3. At first, this seems like a straightforward commandment of the Torah. If you find something that doesn't belong to you, whether it's a living animal or an inanimate object, either find the owner and give it back, or hold on to it until the owner comes looking for it. However, because this passage is brief without any details of how to deal with the various possible scenarios associated with it, many implications, applications, and questions are left unaddressed. This set of commandments revolving around the care and return of a lost object is one of the foundational passages that many begin studying when commencing to learn Mishnah and Talmud. Tractate Bava Metzia has a whole section exploring the various facets of these principles and their subsequent applications. It raises questions such as, how long must one hold on to the lost object? Or, how does a person deal with the extra expense of keeping a lost animal? Or, what if the lost animal dies while in one's possession? Or, what should a person do with items that cannot be identified by their owner, such as scattered coins? These questions are all legitimate and need resolution if we desire to fulfill this commandment. However, we can apply this passage in another way. Midrashically, we can also understand these laws to apply to anything that is lost, not just tangible objects. The principle of this passage can equally apply to things that are spiritual in nature. An example of this would be the Sabbath. If a God-fearing person does not recognize the Sabbath but continues to grow spiritually, then he will likely eventually realize that he's lost something along the way. He's missing out on the blessing of the Sabbath but does not realize it yet. We must hold on to this missing blessing for him. Quote, until your brother seeks it. We must be particularly sensitive to followers of Yeshua who are growing and spiritually searching. Maybe they don't recognize this particular object of theirs that we are safeguarding, but we must work to help them see their loss, as it says, "You shall take them back to your brother." We must do so, however, in a way that is loving and respectful and with a great deal of patience and humility. Just as we would never maliciously hunt down the owner of a lost puppy and condemn them for their negligence, we don't need to do so with those who have lost religious practices either. If we find a power tool but leave it out in the rain until we return it to its owner several months later, it won't be much of a mitzvah to return the rusted, unusable item to its owner. But if we take good care of it, keeping it dry and protected, maybe even cleaning it up a little bit, then when we return it to its proper owner, the owner will not only receive the object with joy, but will also be grateful for our efforts to take care of it. The same is true when it comes to returning lost spiritual items. We should bring the lost item back to the person in a way that it will be seen as unsoiled, beautiful, and familiar. If we can't return it back to them in this manner, then why would they want it back at all? Do you have any tips or suggestions that can help us return the beauty of Torah and Shabbat to others? We can all learn from one another. Let us know your ideas by leaving a comment below. Also, I wanted to say a big thank you for everyone who helps support this channel and the ministry of Emet Torah. You guys are amazing. You're helping us reach people that we would never have been able to reach otherwise. Thank you for your sacrifice, for your support, for your prayers for this ministry. And last, if you didn't see my highly unusual video from last week entitled The Age of the Anti-Hero, you'll definitely want to check it out right here. I'll see you next week with another Messianic insight into the eternal Torah of God. Shavua Tov from Emet Torah.